Hi, today we're here with Makoto Braxton, who's the Contracting Administrator Team Lead at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Thank you very much for participating in our market research podcast. So could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your experience in the acquisition process as a whole?
Well, thank you for allowing me the chance to kind of participate in this process. As you mentioned, I'm the Contract Administration Team Lead at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Before that, I was with the Department of Army. I was a cost price analyst. And then before that, I was a contract specialist with the Department of the Air Force. I have done cradle to grave. My experience with the Army was all pre-award. My experience with the OCC has been mostly post-award, and my experience with the Air Force was mostly post-award. So a lot of the answers that I'm going to give are kind of from that post-award perspective.
What are some of the things you procured during your career?
With the Air Force, we administered a large radar system contract. It was known as Alaska Radar System, 15 what's called long-range radar sites that were spread throughout the state. It's kind of like a Cold War holdover. So obviously Alaska being very close to Russia, they would, regularly intercept Russian airplanes that kind of intruded into U.S. airspace. So that was kind of a very big 10-year program that I was on. With the Army, we supported a lot of different agencies inside the Army and outside the Army as well. I worked on Joint Strike Fighter program, C-17, which is a large aircraft program for the Air Force. We also did a lot of stuff with like Army intelligence and like the Chief of Staff for the Army. So just a lot of different requirements, mostly services. At the OCC, it's almost all commercial buying. So kind of just the gamut of non-commercial, commercial, pre and post.
Okay. So with regard to market research, what would you consider some of the best methods?
So, from the post-award perspective, obviously, you're really not doing as extensive market research as what you're doing kind of as you award a new contract or new order or something like that. So really what we're looking for is kind of as we're exercising options. We do conduct kind of market research kind of more in a formal method. Because we are so kind of heavily into commercial, we rely on GSA Advantage, NASA Soup, those type of things to ensure that the prices in the option years are still kind of the best kind of value to the government. So that's typically what we use kind of in terms of market research. And if I kind of put back on the award hat from like my Army days, the best methods for conducting market research, I think is industry engagement. At the Army, we did a lot of stuff that was non-commercial. Really have to talk to the experts in industry, and that's what we did a lot of.
Okay, so did you do those by talking to them? Do you just reach out, or did you do industry days?
We did industry days. There's obviously a lot of different ways, sources sought, requests for information, those type of thing. With the Army, it was mostly kind of bigger programs, a lot of high visibility. Yeah, we did industry days.
So where do you see the government acquisition processes going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think really from like the commercial buying side, it's really looking like, at category management, obviously a big thing. So trying to bring like the government together almost as like a single buyer to kind of like, drive volume discounts and drive down costs. So I see kind of that being a big thing. Kind of in the non-commercial side, obviously, is depending on what happens with the new administration and the budget for DoD, it's kind of like, are their budgets going to shrink or grow? And, better buying power, is that still going to be something that the DoD kind of focuses on? Better buying power is not just about volume discounts and those type of things, but they were doing things like doing should cost reviews, where it used to be that like DoD would assume that contractors operated with all economy and efficiency. They would just assume that because they were the industry experts, they were the best at doing those things. But should cost reviews don't assume that. They kind of bring in like industrial specialists to ensure that the process and procedures that contractors have in place to build whatever major systems that they're building actually are the most efficient and effective way of doing that. So I think just depending on where you sit, you'll see some of those type of changes kind of come through.
Okay. So when you say about the one government, do you envision that means somehow the workforce is going to move into one area or like one agency, or somehow more bigger things like GSA and SOUP are going to come out so that people can utilize those more?
Yeah, I think so. In Department of Treasury, we're seeing kind of like the shared services model. We have a big shared services kind of arm in Parkersburg. They used to be BPD, and then it was Bureau of Fiscal Service, and now they're just called Fiscal Service. So they do shared services, not just in regards to procurement, but in regards to IT, help desk, human capital type of operations. So we've seen kind of this big push in the Department of Treasury to go to kind of this shared services model. They're typically located outside the DC metro area because you get to take advantage of lower labor costs and things like that, less locality pay, that type of thing. So that I certainly think that there's that kind of pressure kind of everywhere across the government. But yeah, as we move to this one government kind of concept and try to aggregate all our spending together, that could be where we're going. I mean, even OCC is that idea, even though all our procurement staff is headquartered in DC, there has been kind of talk about, well, would it be better to potentially have buyers or contracting officers located outside of DC? Is it because they'll be cheaper in terms of the labor costs, and are you able to keep them for longer?
So how do you involve or consider small businesses in your market research? Especially that must be hard in a post-award environment.
Yeah, in the post-award environment, it is hard. I mean, typically when we're awarding like calls or task orders kind of in a multi-award vehicle, I mean, those kind of things are already kind of set at the pre-award stage. So kind of for small businesses, we're kind of already handed something from kind of the pre-award side of our organization. But in terms of like, how do you do that when you're awarding a new contract or something like that? I mean, I think there's a lot of tools out there that can be taken advantage of. Obviously, like GSA, you can search by that small business category to kind of see if there's adequate competition there. SOUP has the different categories of where you could target specific small businesses. Like I know that the NIH vehicle has kind of the same thing. They have a large small business component. And then, I mean, if you're not going to be using kind of a pre-competed GSA or like, federal supply schedule, certainly, the Small Business Administration, the dynamic search for small businesses is a tool that you could use.
Okay. So how do you stay up to date in the market research environment?
I mean, I think it's really that you just have to engage with your program offices, you engage with your vendors and just get information. I think that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there. It's getting easier and easier. You can Google search it. You can use one of these GWACs or federal supply schedules to kind of find out what's going on out in the market. But I mean, I think your program office people, they should be kind of the technical experts in that field. So I think they should keep abreast of latest trends. And if you talk to them, and then obviously relations with your vendors. I mean, the vendors are the experts in these particular fields. They know where these fields are going, or they should know where these fields are going. So I mean, I think as long as you communicate and collaborate with your subject matter experts, I mean, I think that you'll keep apprised of what's going on in that particular industry.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time, Makoto. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.